Greetings, this is the Grumpy Old Slan, and today we're going to be taking a look at 3rd level magic user spells in Unearthed Arcana. So as we can see from the list, there are 32 spells at 3rd level for magic users. 8 of those are new. Those are the ones we're going to be taking a look at today. And the first spell is Cloudburst. It has a range of 1 inch per level, a duration of 1 round. The area of effect is a 3-inch diameter cylinder up to 6 inches high. This spell is identical to the 3rd level clerical spell of the same name, except that a holy symbol is not part of the material components. So I've already said what I thought about this spell when I reviewed the 3rd level cleric spells. I'll just direct you to that video somewhere in the corner there. Next is Detect Illusion, which has a range of touch, a duration of 2 rounds plus 1 round per level. The area of effect is a distance of line of sight 1 inch wide and 1 inch per level long. This spell is the same as the 1st level illusionist spell, Detect Illusion, except as noted above. I have not gone over the illusionist spells yet. That's going to be after the magic user spells. However, considering I can detect magic as a 1st level spell, it seems to be a little bit over the top to have it be a 3rd level spell to just detect illusions. In addition, it is a 1st level illusionist spell, and even illusionists can detect magic as a 2nd level spell. I might actually bring this spell down to 2nd level, maybe even 1st. We'll discuss it a bit more when we do the illusionist spells. Next is Item, which has a range of touch, a duration of 6 turns per level. The area of effect is 2 cubic feet per level of the caster. And there's a footnote saying the duration is quadrupled if used on non-living material. By means of this spell, the magic user is able to touch any normal, non-magical item of a size appropriate to the allowable area of effect and cause it to shrink to 1/12 of its normal size. Optionally, the caster can also change its now shrunken composition to a cloth-like one. Only living things are entitled to a saving throw versus spell, but each such save is at +4. Objects and creatures transformed to cloth make saving throws normally, as if not altered, against subsequent attacks. Objects changed by an item spell can be returned to normal composition and size merely by tossing them onto any solid surface or by word of command from the original spellcaster. It is possible to affect a fire and its fuel with this spell. I find this spell quite interesting, has a lot of potential, especially in more roleplay heavy campaigns. You can use it to carry stuff. Even the quadruple duration for non-living material still limits you somewhat. 6 turns is an hour, so you get 4 hours per level. You get the spell at least at 5th level, so 4 times 5 is 20. You can use it for a day, and at higher levels, maybe 2. Certainly useful for carrying something, particularly carrying it somewhere discreetly, or if you need to carry something relatively large through a very narrow passage. It's not mentioned here, but presumably the cloth-like composition is lighter than the original object, allowing you to carry it. A lot of spells will forego the save if people voluntarily undergo it, so maybe you can smuggle people somewhere using the spell if they're willing and they trust you enough. They don't say what happens when the duration of the spell expires, but presumably the items or the people will be returned to normal automatically, with a lot of possibilities with this spell. Material has a permanent duration and a casting time of 1 round. The area of effect is 1 cubic feet per level of the caster. A material spell allows the magic user to actually bring into being certain common things. There is no great difficulty in causing common basic materials such as stone, earth, soil, or wood to appear. These sorts of materials in raw, unworked form are easily gained by means of this spell. Similarly, other inorganic or non-living materials such as water, air, dung, straw, etc. can be conjured. When simple plants are concerned, such as when the caster attempts to bring into being an area of grass, there's a base 100% chance of total failure, modified downwards by 1% per level of the spellcaster. Animal life can never be affected by this spell. In no event can worked, refined, or fabricated items be brought into being by a material spell, nor can rough gems or precious metals. The spell essentially enables the magic user to create common things of a basic nature. I'm not in love with this spell. The description is contradictory, saying inorganic or non-living material, and then they give the example of dung and straw, both of which are clearly organic in nature. There's a lot that's going to need to be decided here by the GM. I think this spell description is very open to some confusion. Before allowing this spell in their campaign, a DM will really have to think about the consequences, the way this spell could be used, and be ready for it because the players are going to try to take full advantage of it if they have it. Melts minute meteors. The range is 1 inch per level. The casting time is 5 segments, and the area of effect is 1 target per missile. This spell is unusual in 2 respects. First, the Dweemer enables the caster to cast small globes of fire, each of which burst into a 1-foot diameter sphere upon impact, inflicting 1 to 4 points of damage upon the target creature, or otherwise igniting combustible materials, even solid planks. These meteors are missile weapons thrown by the mage, with misses being treated as grenade-like missiles. This ability continues from round to round until the caster has fired off as many of these meteors as he or she has levels of experience, until he or she decides to forego casting any additional missiles still remaining, or until a Dispel Magic spell is successfully cast upon the magic user. Second, once Melf's minute meteors is cast, the magic user has the option to discharge the available missiles at the rate of 1 every 2 segments as desired, or 1 every round, beginning with the initial round of casting. The magic user may not switch between these options once one of them is chosen. In the first option, the caster must point at the desired target on the second segment after the spell is cast, and a missile will be discharged. This process is repeated every 2 segments thereafter until all the missiles are so released. Naturally, this usually will mean that the spell actually carries over into at least the following round. If the second option is chosen, the magic user can withhold or discharge missiles as he or she sees fit, so long as 1 missile is let go during each subsequent round. This option has the benefit of enabling the spellcaster to actually discharge one of the meteors and conjure some other spell as well in the same round. The other spell must be of such a nature as to not require the continuing concentration of the spellcaster, or else he or she will involuntarily forego the casting of any further missiles from the original spell. However, the magic user's opportunity to discharge a missile and cast a spell in the same round is of such benefit that the potential loss is not of concern. If the magic user fails to maintain an exact mental count of the number of missiles remaining, this is an unfailing indication that he or she has involuntarily foregone the remaining portion of the spell. The components necessary for the casting of this Dweemer are niter and sulfur formed into a bead by the admixture of pine tar and a small hollow tube of minute proportion fashioned from gold. The tube costs no less than 1,000 gold pieces to construct, so fine is its workmanship and magical engraving, but it remains potent throughout numerous castings of the spell, unless damaged by accident or abuse. So that's an interesting spell. The wording is a little bit confusing. Initially, they say the meteors are missiles thrown by the mage, therefore requiring a 2-hit. Misses are being treated as grenade-like missiles. They then talk about discharging the missiles. I would tend to say that they are discharged. Since you can't throw more than, say, 1 oil flask in a round, you wouldn't be able to throw 5 of these in a round. So discharging seems to make more sense, but I would still require the 2-hit to happen. This spell is much less powerful than a fireball spell. 1, because each sphere only does 1 to 4 points of damage. 2, because they might miss the intended target and so not cause damage at all. or cause damage to a friend rather than a foe. On the plus side, being able to spread out these missiles for 5 or more rounds while being able to cast other spells seems very interesting. This has to require some careful adjudication on the part of the dungeon master as to which spells are allowed, which ones aren't, i.e. which ones require concentration and which ones don't. There were spells before that required concentration and didn't allow for any other spells to be cast while they were in effect. This one sort of does require concentration, but allows you to cast other spells. One of the sentences that really bugs me in this description is the one about the magic user failing to maintain an exact mental count of the number of missiles remaining. Some people interpret this as the player maintaining the count, which seems to go against everything else in RPGs. You are not your character. Your character can know things you don't, which is why you'll roll a wisdom or intelligence check. The little tube costing over 1,000 gold pieces to construct can be quite a hurdle even for a 5th level character, depending on the kind of campaign that is being run. When I compare this spell to other damage dealing spells like Fireball or Lightning Bolt, those two seem much more powerful. There's things I like about this spell, but other things make me a little bit ambivalent about it. Secret Page has a range of touch. Its duration is until dispelled, so presumably permanent until the magic user wills it to stop. The casting time is 1 turn, and the area of effect is 1 page of any size up to 2 feet square. When cast, a Secret Page spell alters the actual contents of a page to appear to be something entirely different. Thus, a map can be changed to become a treatise on burnishing ebony walking sticks. The text of a spell can be altered to show a ledger page or even another form of spell, etc. Confused languages and explosive runes may be cast upon the secret page, but a comprehend languages will not reveal the actual contents of the secret page. The caster is able to reverse the effects of the spell by the mere utterance of a command word, then peruse the actual page and return it to its secret page form thereafter. The caster can also remove the spell by double repetition of the command word. Others, noting the dim magic of a page with the spell cloaking its true contents, can attempt to dispel magic, but if it fails, the page will be destroyed. Short of an alter reality or wish spell, only Will-O-Wisp or Bogart Essence will reveal the true nature of the subject of a secret page spell, if that page is not subject to dispel magic. The material components of the spell is powdered herring scales. It's an interesting spell, maybe to be used more by the DM for NPC magic users, but even player characters could use it. If the content of the secret page is made to appear to be a different form of spell, I would tend to rule that whoever reads the secret page will think it is a given spell, but any attempt to learn it will fail. It is not the actual spell. And because of the secret page, people will not realize that the failure is due to it not being a proper spell. The 2 feet square, it's roughly the size of a smallish newspaper. It could certainly work for maps or other single page documents. The other thing that DMs should watch out for is that it affects 1 page. A page is not a sheet, it is one side of a sheet. If you want a complete spell to be hidden, spells will presumably take more than 1 page in your spell book. Therefore, you might need more than one casting to completely hide the existence of this spell. Or people will notice something is wrong and then maybe investigate further. I believe this is a spell that has a lot of potential in a campaign where information is crucial and may be hidden from the players, or the players will want to hide it from NPCs. Sepia Snake Sigil has a special duration. The area of effect is 1 sigil, and the casting time is 3 segments. There are 3 forms of this spell, but each eventually causes the conjuration of a deep brown snake-like force. This so-called Sepia snake springs into being and strikes at the nearest living creature, but the Sepia snake will not attack the magic user who casts the spell. Its attack is made as if it were a monster with hit dice equal to the level of the magic user who casts the Dweemer. If it is successful in striking, the victim is engulfed in a shimmering amber field of force, frozen and immobilized until the caster releases the Dweemer or until a Dispel Magic spell does so. Until then, nothing can get at the victim, move the shimmering force surrounding him or her, or otherwise affect the field or the victim. The victim does not age, grow hungry, sleep, or regain spells when it is in this state, and is not aware of his or her surroundings. If the Sapia snake misses its target, it dissipates in a flash of brown light, with a loud noise and a puff of dun-colored smoke which is 1 inch in diameter and lasts for 1 round. The 3 applications are 1. As a glowing sigil in the air drawn by the spellcaster and pointed at the intended target. 2. As a glyph of umber marked on some surface that is touched or gazed upon. And 3. As a small character written into some magic work to protect it. The components for the spell are 100 gold piece worth of powdered amber, a scale from any snake, and a pish of mushroom spores. I quite like this spell. It is, again, like the secret page, very much something to be used by the DM for NPC magic users to protect their spell books or to protect important documents or places. A victim of this spell who is stuck in this stasis until somebody casts Dispel Magic could be found in a dungeon somewhere, both warning the players that something might be there. Unless there's a second casting of it, there won't be. But also, if the party decides to dispel it, they can talk to whoever this person is, maybe find out they've been there for a very long time. There are interesting things, narratively speaking, that could be done with this spell. Wind Wall has a range of 1 inch per level, a duration of 1 round per level, and an area of effect that is 1 inch wide and half an inch high per level of caster. This spell brings forth an invisible curtain of wind of considerable strength, sufficient to blow birds as large as crows upward, or to tear papers and like materials from unsuspecting hands. If in doubt, a saving throw versus spell determines whether the subject maintains its grasp. Normal insects cannot pass such a barrier. Loose materials, even cloth garments caught in a wind wall, will fly upward. The material components are a tiny fan and a feather of exotic origin. Another good spell, another defense against the cloud kill and other such spells. Some interesting things that could happen between two magic users. If one uses a gust of wind and the other one uses wind wall, the DM will have to figure out how they interact. Now, clearly people can cross a wind wall, though they will feel the effects of the wind while they do so, and with their clothes flying upward. It's not mentioned here, but the DM will need to think about what happens with missiles thrown across the wind wall. Light missiles, darts, and things like that might be blown away and be ineffective. A sling stone might cross it, as would heavier missiles like a spear. Arrows and bolts might be affected more, maybe causing a bigger penalty to hit. Certainly large missiles, boulders thrown by giants, any missile from a siege engine will be unaffected. That's it for the 3rd level magic user spell. Let's just quickly go through it. Cloudburst, we've seen before, potentially useful, though somewhat limited. Detect Illusion, clearly this does not belong as a 3rd level spell, especially when compared to everything else there is. Item has a lot of potential. I really like this spell. Material has that contradictory description. I'm not in love with it, and I might actually just not have it in my campaign at all. Mouse Minute Meteor can be interesting, but the other combat-oriented spells at 3rd level are much more effective in damage dealing. Secret Page and Sapia Snake Sigil, both very useful for what they are. Mostly will be used in an intrigue type scenarios. And then Wind Wall, one of the many walls that magic users can conjure up. The weakest one, admittedly, but still, I could see this used in many different scenarios. This has been the Grumpy Old Slan, looking at 3rd level magic user spells in Unearthed Arcana, and I'll see you next time.